Unfortunately for us Major League Baseball fans, when the league tries to do something cool and hip, more times than not, they usually fall flat on their face. If you are interested in those best stadiums, though, take a look at my last video where I ranked the best stadiums where MLB ever held a regular season game. But who am I kidding? The best performing videos on this channel are the top 5 worst. They're my favorite to make, so let's get going. This is Sean, and this is my top 5 worst non-MLB stadiums. Coming in at number 5 to start us off is the Sydney Cricket Ground. There were 2 games played here in 2014, and this is a stadium built in 1851 in Sydney, Australia. It has a 48,000 person capacity. It's one of the most famous arenas they have over there. And like mentioned, there were 2 MLB games here. If after hearing that you think this stadium actually sounds cool, you're not alone. I thought the same thing. The reason this is on my list is because it's not a special stadium made just for baseball. They literally just threw some lines, some bases, some foul poles. They said, let's play a frickin' game, man. The stadium itself is pretty cool. I'm really digging the clock tower. The close, intimate seating is awesome. But I'm judging this as a baseball stadium, and it is blatantly obvious that this is a makeshift stadium. I think historic stadiums are great. It just isn't the same when someone's playing a sport that wasn't initially meant to be played there. I mean, think about those college football games at baseball stadiums and hockey games at baseball stadiums. It's a fun novelty, but it's kind of ugly. The fact that there was an MLB game played at a stadium that's been around since the 1850s is awesome, but I wish it was at an older baseball stadium, which wouldn't exist, so this is what we'll have to take. This is why it's at my number 5 and not higher. Unfortunately, I think this stadium's really ugly with a baseball diamond on it, but regardless, as an MLB stadium, it's pretty unremarkable in its own right. Let me know if you remember those 2 games played here, because I sure as hell don't. At number 4 is Journey Bank Ballpark at historic Bowman Field, or as most people know it, Bowman Field. There were 5 MLB games played here from 2017 to 2019. COVID happened, and they started it back up in 2021, and there'll even be a game here this year. And this stadium has been around since 1926. But there's a reason it took 91 years to have a game here. For those of you who are not losers like myself and are wondering why are there MLB games being played in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, it is because Williamsport is the host of the Little League World Series, and there's a special exhibition game held here that coincides with the end of the Little League World Series. It's always fun when this game happens. They show all the Little League teams in the stands watching the MLB game, and I always thought that this stadium was right next to where they played the Little League games, but it's actually all the way across the fucking city. Are you serious? It's not right next to it? I always thought that. When I figured this out, this stadium had to make the list. I already didn't like this as an MLB stadium, but it didn't really bother me because I literally thought these countries would be battling it out at the stadium right next door. And after a hard-fought battle, they could all come together and watch an MLB game. Such a sweet picture in your head. It's so beautiful. But since this is actually so far away from where they play those Little League games, I'm going to knock it for looking like the local high school baseball field. This stadium is so boring, there's not even much more to say about it. The exterior is kind of cool, but there's almost none of that inspiration on the inside of the stadium. There's no outfield seats, they do nothing fun with that area. It looks like a high school stadium from the inside. It's just boring. Like mentioned at the start, this stadium has been around since the 1920s. It's in that weird twilight zone between being too old where they've had to renovate it a lot, but it's so small that when they do those newer renovations, the history is taken away, and it's just not a good stadium in my opinion. In this stadium's long life, the most notable thing that happened here is a catcher shaving a potato down to the size of a baseball, throwing it into the outfield instead of the ball to fool the runner, and then getting cut because of it. At the end of the day, pretty lame stadium. I'm sad that MLB has decided to just come here every year for some reason, considering there's so many better stadiums where a yearly game would be more exciting. Some of you may be appalled right now thinking about those little leaguers who won't get to see this game, but if those kids need to walk all the way across the city to see this game, I think that's bullshit. Fingers crossed with the return of Field of Dreams, this game will be gone. My third worst stadium is Aloha Stadium in Hawaii. There was a 3-game series played here in 1997, and MLB said never coming back. Now, Aloha Stadium is interesting because it was built in 1975, and a lot of stadiums coming out in the 70s would be multi-purpose like this one, wanting football and baseball to both be played there. But this stadium took an unconventional approach and had 2 different mechanisms where they could lock the seats into football mode and baseball mode. But the minor league baseball team that was supposed to play here had horrible attendance numbers, and it quickly became apparent that this 2-mechanism approach was not necessary because the demand for baseball really wasn't there. This may make you wonder, though, why is the University of Hawaii now choosing to play at their on-site facility for football, which would honestly make my top 5 worst middle school stadiums in Texas for football? And why are they not playing at Aloha Stadium, the biggest stadium in Hawaii? Well, first off, it's really ugly. This is it in baseball mode, and like most multi-purpose stadiums, they are disgusting to look at. They have no character, no personality, and besides these different colored seats, which honestly remind me of gross RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C., which is currently rotting away, I'm not a fan, and I think most people will agree with me on this take. Literally during the ESPN broadcast of that series, they were showing everything but the stadium. They had the players hula dancing, catching a fish, batting practice shirtless. Why not? John Miller can't even save this place.
Hello, everyone. Aloha. Mahalo nui loa. I'm John Miller.
Quick, cut to a stereotypical Hawaiian guy. There we go. How about we cut to, the beach? Yes. Is it far from the stadium? Oh, you can't see it at all. Fantastic. I mean, look at this. They're showing the lineup at the start of the game, and the main focus is Hawaii in the distance, trying to help the viewers remember where this game's even being played. This is just a dreadful baseball viewing experience for those watching at home. The outfield is ugly and dull. The backstop sucks. Not good at all. And the experience, I'm sure, wasn't much better for those who went to the game, because one thing I've failed to mention until now is that this stadium is literally rusting away. That's right. As of 2020, it's closed. There are no future events planned to happen here. And this is because the steel company who the state of Hawaii brought on to supply steel for the stadium was allegedly untruthful about how well the steel would hold up in the hot Hawaiian sun. I read way more of this court case from the 90s than I'd like to admit, but I'll give you the gist of what I got from it. And full disclaimer, I have no legal experience. Take what I say as bullshit, I guess. What I interpreted was the state of Hawaii thought that the steel company, USX, falsely advertised how strong their steel was. And the state of Hawaii was under the impression that they would not have to paint the steel with a protective coating of paint to stop rusting from happening. It turned into a whole thing. The stadium started rusting anyways. As if that wasn't bad enough, in 2006, it was announced that the stadium would be locked into football configuration forever. No more baseball could be played there because the technology that would move the seats from baseball to football was millions of dollars of upkeep, and it was just deemed not worth it anymore. So, until Hawaii decides it wants a real baseball stadium, I do not think MLB is coming back. Number 2 is Irem Bithorn Stadium. There were 26 games played here, 2001. 2003 to 2004, there were actually 20 games played by the Expos here as a quote-unquote home team. This was at the end of their career in Montreal. They had horrible attendance there. They were throwing shit at the wall, seeing what would stick, and they said, let's have the Expos play in Puerto Rico, which is where the stadium is, by the way. Sorry, I didn't mention that. And this was an attempt by Puerto Rico to try to lure an expansion team here. Obviously didn't work. And in 2010 and 2018, they came back for a planned series. Let's be real. For being the biggest baseball stadium in such a baseball hub as Puerto Rico, this place sucks. Those outfield bleacher seats that do not look permanent ruin this entire place for me. It looks so amateur. The whole stadium itself looks amateur. It's just really sad that when MLB decides to come here, this is where they have to play. Here's some footage from 2001, the first series ever played here. Besides the design of that overhang behind home plate, there's nothing happening for this stadium in my opinion, and it's just sad. Wait a sec, Cody Ross went here a few months before being traded to San Francisco and becoming a legend? Okay, sorry, back on topic. Like I talked about in my best non-MLB stadiums video, Tokyo Dome fucking rocks. Mobile Super Stadium in Mexico fucking rocks. Eram Bithorn Stadium in desperate need of a nuclear bomb to level it, so that Puerto Rico can hopefully build an actual cool stadium. You might be wondering why I'm not talking about Puerto Rico native Francisco Lindor hitting a big home run here a few years ago. While I admit it was a memorable moment, it would have been a lot more memorable if the fans in the outfield weren't standing on bleachers built in 1960. And with those unkind words out of the way, I give my final plea to any former or current Puerto Rico player. Please donate some of your money and get your country an awesome stadium that they deserve. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, my worst non-MLB stadium is Fort Bragg Stadium, where thankfully only one Major League Baseball game was played. The spirit behind this game is great. They wanted to have the first ever game on a military base for active military to go to. Great concept, nothing against that idea. But this stadium is horrible. As us Americans know, our military budget is $1,000,000,000,000,000,000. So if you're going to level some random field on the biggest military base in the country, the base where literally 10% of the military is stationed, and you're going to turn that area into a location where a Major League Baseball game will be played, I would sure hope you tried a lot harder than they actually did. I mean, come on, guys. We couldn't have gotten some big helicopters, some tanks, some bomber jets, maybe a few bombs, a grenade, a bear trap. I don't know. Something cool. Give me some theming. These are just bleachers. Like, was the inspiration for this place a children's baseball park? I don't get it. So the stadium's ugly as fuck. I can only say that so many different ways. If that wasn't bad enough, the only thing anyone remembers about this game is frickin' Zach Hample, because he snuck in when he wasn't supposed to be there to catch some baseballs. For those lucky enough not to know who Zach Hample is, he's pretty hated among the baseball community. You can be the judge if it's unfair or not. But his gimmick is essentially he'll vlog about going to baseball games and seeing how many balls he can catch. People accuse him of pushing kids out of the way to catch balls and just being rude sometimes, but like I said, you can be the judge of that. I'm not here to tell you what to think about the guy. With that being said, there were plenty of people mad when they found out he caught 11 baseballs at this game that was meant to be attended by military personnel only as a tribute to their service, and people thought the fact that 11 of those baseballs didn't go to those people, but instead went to this guy who has hundreds upon hundreds of baseballs was pretty messed up. I know I told you I'm not here to tell you what to think, but that's not going to stop me from giving my opinion on him anyways. I think it's a little weird that he's telling everyone to calm down because they're upset about this. It's incredibly lame that he really did take 11 souvenirs away from military personnel, because taking a baseball home from a game is an awesome experience. And seeing his interactions with the public throughout the years as a baseball fan, he really has rubbed me the wrong way. He seems to think he's better than everyone else just because he can catch baseballs. Now, am I just salty because 6 years ago I got caught cheering for him catching a ball on accident? Yes, I am. But the whole reason I'm talking about this guy for so long is because this incident is all anyone remembers about this game. Seriously, ask the average fan even which two teams played in this, and I bet most couldn't say it. I'd be curious to know how many remember the Hample incident, though. I will say, JT Real Muto did love his time at this stadium. That doesn't really surprise me. What did surprise me was to see Don Mattingly say the atmosphere was better than Yankee Stadium during the playoffs. I understand there's a level of patriotism in that answer, but you're literally not fooling anyone when you're comparing this to a crowd of 12,000, half of which might get post-traumatic flashbacks from the crack of the baseball bat. Or maybe Don Mattingly himself has brain damage from watching the Giants pick up bums off of downtown San Francisco and winning 3 rings and not being able to do it himself with a super team. I will unfortunately end this video on a troubling note. It was revealed that the COO of MLB, Tony Petitti, admitted that MLB had a meeting trying to find unconventional places to play games, which is what my last 2 videos have been about, so I'm all for it. So I was excited to learn this until I read that everyone in the room unanimously agreed that this was the idea that stood out. That's pretty disheartening. At least a few years later, we got the Field of Dreams game. I think they really nailed it with that, and we haven't had a Fort Bragg one since. And in my opinion, that's for the best. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know what you'd like the next video to be about. I read every comment, and I try to respond to everyone. Thank you so much for almost getting me to 300 subscribers. If you are not subscribed and you enjoyed this video, please consider it. Until next time, this is Sean, and that was my top 5